Hey, what's going on today, YouTube? Long time no see. Today's gonna be kind of one of those just off update videos. As you can tell, I'm not in my room or anything like that. I'm actually in a hotel room, and that's because I'm on a training trip for the company that I got hired onto. Woo. That also explains a couple of reasons why I haven't been making videos lately. I've been working and trying to get into the swing of things, as I made a YouTube post about it. Sorry, I've been a little bit away for updating my Japanese. And with that out of the way, I'm gonna go ahead and talk about my Japanese so far. So I actually kind of stopped doing Japanese actively about a month to 2 months ago. So that puts me at around the end of April. And that doesn't mean I haven't been doing Japanese at all. I've been maintaining my Anki cards, and I still listen to Japanese music, still watch anime with Japanese subtitles, and I still watch YouTube, Japanese YouTube. But I don't really consider it studying, so I personally haven't sat down and just I personally haven't just sat down and done like a session of like Japanese. I haven't like sat down and read and done Japanese too much, and I haven't just sat down and kind of tried mining for Anki. And so, at least not lately. So, like I said, I just got hired on and I'm training right now. I'm away from home, and I've been just trying to work into getting Japanese back into my routine schedule. So that's why I want to make this video today, and we'll talk a little bit about that. Like I said, my Japanese studies, I kind of took a step away from Japanese for a little bit, and personally, I think I'm gonna make a comment here about going too hard into learning a language or something like that. And so in the language learning process, I think it's okay to not go too crazy about it into the language. Number one, it depends on how useful the language is going to be to you in your life. Like if you're using it day to day on a day-to-day basis, okay, sure, it's going to be very important, and you probably want to use a lot of effort learning it. But in my case, I'm kind of just learning Japanese as a hobby to want to be able to speak and understand it in the future. So personally, do I have to study as hard as like 8 hours a day? No, but that doesn't mean that I shouldn't still effectively study and efficiently study. But putting it into perspective, Japanese shouldn't become my life. And I think a lot of people go upon learning a language and then they start doing too much of it, and then it becomes their life. And if you want that to become your life, sure, go for it. But personally, I have just been doing it as kind of like a goal / hobby that I want to pursue and do. And so with that kind of comment out of the way, I think it's okay to take breaks. So like the break that I took about a month and a half, 2 months off active studying, I think that's an okay thing to do. It gives you some time to think about it, gives you some time to reflect, and I think it's just overall good to take breaks every so often. Of course, not too often, because then you're not really doing anything, but taking a break if you feel that you need to is okay, in my opinion. So with that out of the way, yeah, I've been a little bit away from Japanese for a little bit, but now I'm starting to get back into things. So I'm slowly revamping what type of things that I'm gonna be trying to do, and one thing is I'm stepping away from Anki, actually. So I'm slowly moving away from making Anki flashcards, and I'm coming from a person who is and was diehard Anki. Like Anki is everything, and you need to be doing a lot of Anki. That was my perspective about a year ago, and now that I'm kind of looking at it, I could attribute my failing of mature Anki flashcards to me not immersing enough, but I think there comes a certain point in memory retention to where if something is too, like, you haven't reviewed something in a long time, like 9 months, a year, 6 months, something like that. If you haven't seen that card, you most likely will forget it. And those are mature cards, and I think that's just a waste of time to brute force those into your memory. If you can come across these cards naturally, these words naturally. And so what I'm trying to get to is I'm incorporating a lot more reading into my Japanese study, and specifically I'm doing two types of reading. I'm going to be focusing on one to where I'm not really looking up too many things with easier text, text that I can read around my level. And then the second one is kind of more of a intensive reading, so going through content that might be a little bit harder or even native level, but making sure that I look up every single word, but at the same time still not stopping. I'm still looking up the words that I don't know and continuing along in the text. And my thought process is that eventually, after doing a little bit of both, the intensive reading, you'll be able to read content and be exposing yourself to words that are higher above your level, but you'll be seeing it a little bit more. And then the free-flowing reading is to get the quote-unquote easier content, the easier stuff that you should know how to read, down and out of the way, to where you don't feel the need to look it up. So I don't know if you have had this experience, but I have this experience because I have Yomichan installed on my computer. Even if it's a kanji that I know, I'm super tempted just to hover over it and make sure that I know what that kanji reading is. If you know what the feeling is, I particularly don't think it's too good to do that, because then you become reliant upon Yomichan. So I found myself just hovering over stupid things like taberu or like omo, like things that I should like easily know. And I'm like, I already know these things. Why am I hovering over it? It's because Yomichan is very accessible and it's very easy to do. So I think by incorporating a little bit of it in both ways, I'll cover a little bit of preparing myself to read text without Yomichan, and then also being allowed to, or still being able to read content that is quote unquote above my level, exposing myself to words in novels that I want to read, and just being able to do that with Yomichan. So that is one thing that I'm going to be incorporating a lot into my studies. And then more of a strategic way about going with Anki. So I've touched a little bit upon this, I think back in March or so, but I don't think you should be making too many Anki cards, and so I think I only want to make Anki cards that keep up with my day-to-day new cards. So if I'm only doing 5 new cards, I'll create like 5 new Anki cards of words that I think I'll see the most. So stuff like that is what I'm going to be incorporating to my studies. And so it's falling more into a reading heavy, a reading centric way of studying, and less Anki. So I think that's going to be better for me, myself. I'm going to test it out, and have been testing it out. I think I started about a couple of weeks ago in June, and so I'm working to just build my comprehension for reading. And so that is my goal, is I want to be able to read higher level stuff. Speaking will come later. I'm not in an area to where I need to be able to speak Japanese, but I am definitely in an area, or I am definitely in the mood or mode to where I want to learn how to, read. I want to be able to comprehend much more things by reading. So that's where my studies are going and focusing towards. So I feel like I'm rambling a little bit, but to sum it all up, I'm going to say that I took a little bit of a break from Japanese, and I think that is okay. And what I'm incorporating now into my Japanese studies is more reading and tactful Anki. So yeah, that's about it today. I'm gonna be doing a little bit of other videos, but stay tuned for those. I do want to do a couple of technical things for Anki, like how to hover over a card just to show things, just some styling stuff that I think is cool for Anki. So Anki content is still going to be coming, but yeah, for my studies personally, I'm doing a lot of reading and less Anki. But anyways, if you watch all the way through, thank you so much, and yeah, good luck in your studies out there, and I'll see you again in a future video.